My life that I've had has been one that I feel has been crafted to fit me. I've been blessed and have had many adventures. I've been blessed to have been born in a refugee camp in Lubango, Angola. Started living with my parents fairly late during my highly emotionally charged teenage years, and had a late start to a structured education in independent Namibia. For some people, that might pose a challenge, and it did for me as well, but nothing that strong correctional parenting, and later on in my career, a calculator and spell check couldn't fix. What I've got up here before I start is what we call the field of dreams. And we'll get to that a little bit later in terms of when we play the clip, and I'll share with you why we're calling it the field of dreams. I've always felt that my life has really been shaped by the influences of my parents. It's been influenced a lot by the many discussions that I've had with my husband, who is my biggest apostle. Yes, in Namibia we do have our own take on the Queen's English. But also by my determination to seeing things through. And I've been fortunate to have been born to two very amazing people who have always let us go out and do as we wanted to do, as long as we're safe. I would have discussions with my dad, and he would want to find out what I'm up to. And he would occasionally express and say, I don't comprehend it all, but I'm satisfied. And I like it when he says I'm satisfied, because it inspires a person to carry on, and they don't restrict what you do. So I've been very fortunate. With all of that being said, I've had an experience in 2010 that I would like to share with you. Because up to that point, I really felt that my little life was pretty perfect. And until 2010, we took a journey or a trip. And it's a regular trip that we normally take to Zim. But this was mid-2010, and that particular trip really changed my take on life. There was a second trip, also in the same year, to the same country, and it cemented what, at that point, I felt was required of me to do. And I would, I suppose, call it when the universe conspires for you to move in a certain direction. I would beg for your indulgence, if you may, and allow me to take you on a journey. It's June 2010 at 3 a.m., and a group of highly accomplished young Africans are walking to their cars. After spending a really good night together, dancing the night away. And we had so much fun that that night, on reflection, reminded me of what my mom would say when as kids during play, when the laughter got too loud, she would say, someone is going to get hurt. Because supposedly such tummy butterfly happiness always leads to someone getting hurt. What transpired was that we ended up being marched to a police station at 3 a.m. in the morning, and were charged and arrested for, firstly, loitering, the whole group. Secondly, the females in the group, including myself, were charged for prostitution. The men, including my husband, were charged for solicitation. This ordeal ended with an exchange of what I, to this day, call bread or transport money to someone that, up until that point, I really considered to be a public protector. Sadly, I no longer do. After that ordeal ended, when the sun was coming up, we went home, everybody not quite understanding what had transpired, and we all went our own ways. Late that afternoon, we met up and over lunch, broached the topic of our false arrest. And we had a good laugh, but a weird kind of laugh, because you're still feeling kind of shocked and you don't know what happened, but you don't know what else to do other than laugh. And my husband, who happens to have been the person that was the most lucid throughout the whole affair, we were protesting, and he was the most calm one of the whole lot. Recalled that we were the only group to have made it to the police station. And most likely because, coming from Namibia, we protested. We protested that we couldn't be arrested for something that we didn't feel was genuine. I don't think they appreciated our first tongue-in-cheek refusing to be arrested, and secondly, asking for the identification. We later found out through discussions with other people that we shared the experience with, that this is a regular antic of the police, to waylay unsuspecting revelers under false pretenses and extort money from them. I flew back to Namibia the Sunday. This happened the Saturday morning. And on my flight back, I had borrowed a book from a friend of mine that was written by Dabiso Moyo. And the last pages in that book were really captivating to me. This was where she spoke about Africans becoming producers, becoming manufacturers, and not just merely consumers. But on reflection of what had happened the previous day, I now wanted to really understand this continent called Africa a little bit more. And as I landed at Johannesburg's International OR Tambo, I went into the bookshops, and I literally wanted to find every book that was written about the African continent, with the only exception being the tourism ones that I didn't touch. And I also had a moment to reflect on my very own unequal society that is Namibia. At that point, we were still doing the reports of the 51% unemployment rate, so it really gave me a good point to reflect on. When I got onto the flight from OR Tambo to Windhoek, I visualized what Namibia could look like 20 years from now, if we did nothing, if I did nothing. And at that point, I thought to myself, I actually wanted to be a game changer. I wanted to be part of the crowd that was driving the change. And I dreamt for myself that I wanted to produce something. I wanted to manufacture something that was proudly Namibian. I wanted to create sustainable jobs. That was my biggest dream. My dream was that I would create this big, massive company with its core mission of creating sustainable jobs and also being part of the change that I wanted to see. At this point, I'd also like to share that I think my dream was also partly selfish, because I didn't want my kids going through a similar experience. I've got 2 young children. I've got a 12-year-old son, Tawana, and a 4-year-old daughter, Shona. And I didn't want them going through a similar experience where the system had failed its people. So I came back, and I shared my plan with my friends, and I shared my plans with my family, and I shared my plans with my fellow partners at KPMG. And the only person that was not surprised by my revelation was my husband, who joined me a week later in Windhoek when he came back from Zimbabwe. And I'd like to say now, at this point, your friends are the very first ones to call you out when you've got crazy ideas. And I think it's because, done with the best intentions, they really don't want to see you getting hurt. And perhaps they also don't want to be part of the picking up the pieces when it all falls apart. So the discussions that I had with my friends, some said, we think you're still in shock, because I shared this plan very soon after I landed. And you just need a little bit of rest, and you will overcome this situation. Some said, we think perhaps there is a sign of burnout, a little bit of rest, and you'll be okay. One friend of mine expressed and said, no, we think it's a midlife crisis. I met one of my friends about a week ago over coffee, and I hadn't seen him for a year. And he expressed and said to me, you know, that day when you shared your plan with me and what you wanted to do, I was terrified for you. How is it that you could leave a partnership at a big four firm, a job and work that you really know how to do really well, and want to embark on something that you've got absolutely no idea about? And he said to me, that evening after we had the discussion, he said to his wife, he fears for Ali. His wife didn't know me, so she said, who's Ali? And rightfully told him, you know, you guys are the dream killers. But it was nice to actually have, you know, your friends care for you. And to my friends, I would like to say, thank you very much for showing me that you care. But honestly, at that point, I didn't listen to a word that you said. And some of my friends are in the audience. And all I had was sheer determination to follow through on this big dream. And I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I took the leap of faith. So in March 2013, I embarked on my journey of this big dream. And it's been an amazing year. I'm no longer a disillusioned have-made-it African. I no longer partake at the regular dinners where the topic of discussion is what this country is becoming and things that are not working. Because I feel if we choose, we can and should be part of the solution. I've always been a dreamer, I guess, but I think we all are. The difference comes in with following through on your dream and having the ability to make it reality. My Zimbabwe encounters have really set me on this journey of realizing and seeing through my wildest and biggest dreams. And I would like to say to you that sometimes the dream might seem big, but if you break it down into smaller pieces, it's easier to realize. For example, I would go into a shop, I would look at a product, and I'll take it off the shelf. I would look at the label. I'll see what was used to make that product, and I'd ask myself, is this something that we could produce here? If we can't produce it, can we grow it here? If we can grow it here and produce it here, can we do it in a commercially viable manner? And can we create jobs? But can we create sustainable jobs? And if I can answer yes to all those questions, then my team of dreamers and I start working on the idea. We start doing the research. And then we conclude as to whether it's something that we can actually follow through and turn into reality. I strongly believe that as Africans, we need to dream, but we need to dream big. And I don't think that we should let fear hold us back when we want to realize the dream and turn it into reality. Because frankly speaking, it's the only thing that will have a positive influence on the African child's take on this continent's potential and future. My Leaptonians, that's what I call the people at Leap, and I, knowing and believing in the power of the dream, and driven by our foremost value, which is we big dreamers. Dreaming is a big part of what we are. And we never limit and set limits on our thinking in terms of what is possible. Launched the Dream Namibia initiative during late 2013. And during late 2014, this year, we're planning on launching the Dreamer Scholarship. And the aim with the Dreamer Scholarship really is to invite participants to write in and share their dream. And based on that, we'll fund one dreamer a year in their field of study, and all they need to demonstrate to us is how their field of study will link up to the dream that they have. And the only ask from us to them is that they give back to Namibia and this continent. There's a favorite saying of mine that I would like to share, which was said by Mark Twain. And I've got this written in my book, so when I look at my goals every morning and I look at the dreams that we've set out, I read it out to myself. 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things that you did not do than the things that you did do. So throw off the bowline, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sail, explore, dream, discover. And I would like now at this point to share a clip with you of what this dream means to me and what it means to 51 people that are today employed by Leap Agribusiness. Mind you, this is a journey that we started in March 2013. Some of the video footage, I'd like to just ask for your forgiveness. It's something that I took myself, being very proud of what we were achieving on the farm.
We are waiters. You'll be taking out the bags and then you'll be giving the people to the sales. So please, take 2 bags with you or 3, then you are giving the people the sales. Yeah. Okay. So you are the waiters now.
The waiters.
I'm welcome.
Yeah.
I'm welcome.
Your seats. You're not even now. Okay.
What I'm most proud of is this fence, which was, done by guys that are not. We didn't hire any professional fence people. The poles. This is the center of it. The poles that we've used, all of these poles were cut on this farm. It's wonderful work that they've done inside, and this was put up by the farm manager in one day with his team. Not a permanent structure, but it's storage for our seeds. And with the rain that's come down, they just basically rolled down those bags, and our seeds are safe until we finish planting in the next 4 days and the structure comes down. The manager pays particular detail to everything. This was basically, just filled with trees and everything. And even when he's running on a tight schedule, he's managed to put rocks around the trees. Merchant of wow, that's what he is. And pays attention to detail to absolutely everything. Feeling super blessed to have him on board.